Good evening, party people, and welcome back to the bar. I really wish I could have been with you sooner, but as it turns out, when rain pours, it floods. It tends to flood, so that's the only reason that we're not here on a Wednesday. The weird thing about live shows is that when things get in the way, you kind of actually have to push things back. It's not like any sort of effort on my part could have been done to make sure things come out exactly on time. Funny story, and we'll get right into the cocktails after this, I promise you that, but I had to give you just an idea of what the heck was going on. 7 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, I was getting my suit on, had everything going on, I was getting everything all prepped up and ready, I was adjusting sound, doing my audio test, and getting everything prepped and prepared. About an hour or two earlier, almost actually 4 hours earlier, there had been a leak from our bathroom. And so we had some maintenance guys come in, we were able to put a shop vac in place to quite literally suck up water as it came into our bathroom. That already sounds pretty disturbing. And it was, because I was quite literally up to half of my arms in... I'm gonna just let your imagination do the talking. And everything was proceeding according to plan until 7 p.m. happened, and all of a sudden, the other side of our apartment started leaking as well at the same time. There was only 2 people here with one appliance to be able to suck up water from only one location, and at that point, I was like, I threw my hands up and then threw my arms down because I was like, we can't do this stream. We can't do it on Wednesday. A couple days later, up until yesterday, things were proceeding on a couple-hour basis of having to get up, push back water, empty things out, either with electrical assistance or mechanical assistance or even manual assistance. And at about, let's say about like 3 o'clock p.m. yesterday, everything was kind of okay. Everything kind of settled down. Actually, it was around like 6 o'clock p.m. when things finally settled. The entire time, I was like, man, I really wish I could utilize these chilled glasses that are currently in the freezer, prepared for Wednesday, and I really hope that these fruits over here don't go bad before the water situation goes up. But luckily for us, there's some determination playing a key factor out there somewhere, and lo and behold, it is not yet Monday, it's not yet Wednesday, it's Saturday, and I wanted to get these out there as soon as possible because I am really, really proud to present these particular Undertale cocktails. I'm just really happy with them, and I really want to share them with y'all. So, that's what we're gonna do, starting up right here. Welcome back to the bar with an X, y'all. Tonight is all about Undertale cocktails. So far, I've got 4 of them prepared for you, including our first one up here right in the corner for our lovely, lovely gal named Toriel. Toriel is a character in Undertale that you meet pretty much right out the gate. Our main character, Frisk, or whatever you decide to name our protagonist, falls down into Mount Ebott, into a little pile of golden flowers. And although you may be getting ideas of golden flowers or golden flower tea, you're just gonna have to wait until another stream when that actually comes to fruition in the form of an actual libation-airy drink. But you meet Toriel, a boss monster, goat-like creature who kind of takes you into her home and is like, you know what, I'm gonna protect you. I'm going to teach you, you can stay here with me, it's dangerous in the underground, you do not want to go out there. And one of the things that she offers you on your first night's stay there is her famous butterscotch cinnamon pie. She kind of gets an idea of what your flavor preferences are as you proceed through the ruins, and she kind of quells the underground monsters to stay away from you. Don't mess with Mama Toriel, don't mess with the queen. And so she calls you up, and she's like, do you like butterscotch? And you're like, I guess. She's like, all right, but do you like cinnamon? And you're like, I guess. Like, just saying, you don't not like cinnamon, right? Like, if I put cinnamon in a pie, like, you know, you're not gonna, like, diss it or anything, right? Lo and behold, there was absolutely no question from Toriel about whether we would be, like, allergic to butterscotch or potentially allergic to cinnamon, but anaphylactic shock is a topic for another stream entirely. Lo and behold, you find this you get this butterscotch cinnamon pie that she gives you on your first night's stay before you eventually say, I gotta move on. There's an entire rest of this adventure that we have to get to, and winds up leaving, not before Toriel tries to stop you, saying, no, you're gonna have to face me first. And if you're a pacifist like we've been so far, you try to talk your way out of an interesting situation, definitely fueled by some odd baggage from potentially previous lovers, potentially previous children, and the lack thereof or loss thereof. Heartache, specifically speaking. The Heartache soundtrack is probably around here somewhere. I don't know if it's actually playing it. Let me put that on as I get through here. I've got a playlist playing in the background. Let's cue that up. Cue up some Heartache. Cue up Heartache for everybody out there so we can get like our emotions going. It's good to cry. Very good to cry. But so Toriel's cocktail is actually a 2-parter. the first thing that you have to do is technically the recipe that's up next. I'll explain that in a moment. We're actually going to create a cocktail foam that goes on top of the cocktail that you see before you here. It is a two-parter. It is butterscotch, it is cinnamon, but it kind of exists in these two different parts, showcasing a technique that I've actually never showcased to y'all before, where you take things and put it into, let me grab my apparatus down here, a pressurized container where you can actually create foams from this. You can rapidly infuse things in an EC whipper. That's ISI whipper, not sponsored or anything. This is just a cool piece of equipment that you can get pretty cheap online. It's a pressurized container. You put stuff into it, you pressurize it up, and stuff happens to it on the inside. You can infuse things, you can make things like coffee really, really quickly, you can emulsify things really quickly, like, for example, egg whites, and make things like foams out of them. And there's an entire school of thought, and there's an entire, like, technique rundown that we could probably do, exploring the various different things that go into a foam, the various different stabilizers that you can use, or things that you can put inside of it. I'm keeping things simple because honestly, it's kind of a new concept to me too. So we're going to put that off to the side. I will also mention that I have a glass chilling in the freezer right now because the whole flavor experience gets a little bit more intensified when you probably have the plays of thermodynamics on your side. So what I'll do first over here is I'll direct y'all to how to make the butterscotch cinnamon foam, the butterscotch foam that goes on top of our Toriel cocktail. You quite literally, when you're making foam, you put your ingredients in here, a little bit of water, got some sweetener in there to give it a nice flavor, and you put some sort of emulsification agent in there. Emulsification agent I might be using the wrong terminology for, but you need something with densely packed proteins, like an egg, for example. And when you pressurize it, everything gets all nice and thick, and you can pour it out the top of this thing as a whipped cream, or just like a cream in general. Whether or not it's whipped or otherwise is kind of, I guess, up for debate. I'm not much of a dictionatorial guy. Anyways. So what we're going to need for our butterscotch foam is we're going to need some butterscotch schnapps. We're going to need a little bit of water. We're going to need an egg white because that's the thing that's going to hold everything together. You could also use other foaming agents. If you wanted things to stabilize it, you could use something like a xanthan gum, which I do actually have, but I didn't really play around with that very much because the foam that I was able to get from this while I was workshopping this cocktail actually came out pretty well. So let's go get that. I'm going to go get myself an egg from the fridge. I need a couple other things too that I'll pull out ahead of time. My cinnamon syrup, got some simple syrup. I'll put those off to the side, and we shall proceed with stuff. Hey, Cammy C, says Emily. Hello, Emily E. M-E-E, aka it's numbers. It's numbers and letters. I have an egg here. One part of this egg is going to go into our foam. The other part is going to go into the cocktail itself. The Toriel cocktail is an egg white foam on top of an egg yolk flip on the bottom. So what I'm going to use is a spare container of mine to catch that egg yolk because we're not using it quite yet. It's going to go into the other part of the cocktail. And I do want the egg white inside of this cocktail foamer here. So if we do this correctly, everything should be just fine. I'm going to crack this egg and make it so that I can take my egg white and pop it into my foamer. That's all I want in there. Perfect. That went super duper well, honestly. Most of my egg white is in there. I'm gonna try to separate as much of it as possible. Great. And we'll put this in our container. And we'll come back to it later. A little gooey on my fingers. That egg yolk will come back relatively quickly. So, or your money back. So now that we have an egg white in our container, this functions as the means to thicken everything up. We're going to add our other components. We need, for at least this, 3 ounces, or about 88 milliliters of butterscotch schnapps. This is the butterscotch component of our butterscotch cinnamon embodied cocktail for Toriel. So let's grab ourselves a measuring majigger and measure out 2 + 1 ounces of butterscotch schnapps. Now, according to the recipe that I put together, which I believe was loosely inspired by a recipe found in Nick Fisher, aka Cocktail Chemistry's book, Cocktail Chemistry, this should be enough for, I think, 15 cocktails. Or if you eat ice cream, you can put it on top of it and boozify things. It's wonderful. I will plan on keeping this in our refrigerator after I'm done garnishing this cocktail and use it for other iterations, probably for the photo shoot that I'll have to do after the fact, or just, like I said, put it on top of like ice cream or something. It'll work just fine. To your 3 ounces of butterscotch schnapps, we're gonna add 2 full ounces of water. I have water in my cup right here, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit. There we go. There we go. Cool. Oh, that doesn't go there. Perfect. Put you down there. So now we got everything in our container. We got our schnapps, we got our water, we got our egg white. Now all we really need to do is charge things up completely. Put my butterscotch schnapps away. Put things on top, and we'll get this going. There we go. I'm gonna tighten this up more or less as much as I can. I'll just save after stream Cameron to do all the dirty work of breaking things apart and cleaning everything up. I'm gonna need a whippet, which Pikachu happens to keep underneath his cap like all times. And I'll pop it on here, and we will charge it and let it sit. I'm gonna let that sit on there as much as I can. Now that it's all pressurized, we're gonna shake this vigorously. A little bit down here, make sure everything gets to know each other. And then while we build the actual cocktail, I'm going to take this, put it into the refrigerator, let that infuse for just a little bit while it takes us some time to build the rest of the cocktail, and then we'll come back to that in a little bit. So we'll go back to our previous recipe to build the other part of Toriel. Preve. Preve is the command I have to use. In the fridge. You do not want to put these things in the freezer. I'll mention that outright. Do not put your EC Whipper with stuff in it in the freezer. There is some interesting dynamics that happen thermodynamically when you take something that is hot or pressurized or otherwise and do stuff by putting it into a different environment of temperature. Thermal expansion and whatever the opposite of that. Thermal expansion versus cooling reduction. Or something. I'm not a physicist. Now let's go to the other part of our cocktail, right? This is build a coupe. Method building a coupe. Oh, well, it should say that you're supposed to shake things first. You have to shake up your flip first. You dry shake, wet shake, then you put it in a coupe, put things over top of each other. Now that correction is out of the way. Let's get ourselves a shaking tin. I don't stack these very well down here, but everything's gonna be just fine. In one shaking tin, we're gonna add the other part of the egg that we preserved from earlier, a single egg yolk. Pop that in. There we go. It is not yet broken. The mess will be dealt with at a later date. Now we have our egg yolk. We're gonna add 2 ounces of cognac and 3/4 of an ounce of cinnamon syrup. This is the cinnamon part of the butterscotch. Now, the other part that I wanted to specifically point out here is why the heck I'm using specifically egg here. You could use an egg substitute, like an aquafaba or some other foaming agent, or I guess an egg yolk equivalent if you were trying to make the flip part of the Toriel cocktail. In hard mode, which I believe you can access in Undertale if you name your character. It might be Frisk. It might be the name that you have to name your character. But instead of serving you butterscotch cinnamon pie, Toriel will serve you her famous and favorite snail pie. And honestly, when I was thinking of snails, the thought occurred to me, do we get all escargot for a cocktail? But I honestly have no idea where to source snails ethically, legitimately, without, I guess, trying to order like dried snails on Amazon, I believe is a thing, and I was not about to go down that rabbit hole. But the slime of an egg white felt very snail-like, so that's why this cocktail is to be a flip that uses an egg white foam on top of the egg yolk drink base below. Let's go get some cognac. We're gonna add 2 full ounces, right? 2 full ounces or 59 milliliters of our cognac brandy. And we'll add that onto the same side of our egg yolk. This is a boozy one. The boozy one. The lack of the booze comes on top when the texture of the egg foam kind of delves in. There's less liquid here because of the addition of the foam up on top later. Next, we'll add 3/4 of an ounce of our cinnamon syrup. I've got over here. This is quite literally just a very base, simple syrup that has been left to sit with some cinnamon sticks inside of it. And actually, let me bring the cocktail angle over here because there's some really cool stuff happening with our little sugar container. Check this out. So we got, if you notice, I see Brad popping and saying boozy. You're right. This is a rich, simple syrup. This is 2 parts of water, or this is 2 parts of sugar to 1 part by volume of water. So sugar to water ratio 2 to 1. At certain temperatures, the sugar will begin to crystallize. And oddly enough, it seems like the crystallization has begun to occur on top of our cinnamon sticks. which is actually really, really cool. Hello, says Willpower. Good evening to everybody. Let's take our cinnamon syrup and apply 3/4 of an ounce to our cocktail shaker. There is no ice added to these so far, not yet, because we're gonna dry shake everything first because of the inclusion of that egg yolk. Pop that on top and measure out 3/4 of an ounce, or about 22 milliliters of cinnamon syrup. This cinnamon syrup has been sitting with the cinnamon for a while. It is so decadently cinnamony. I love it. You might remember when we were actually playing, as I think our first episode of Undertale, we made a butterscotch cinnamon pie kind of white Russian riff that did use this syrup, albeit about 2 or 3 days after it was creation. It's been a while since then. So this is actually, how is that? It smells so good. Oh, it smells so good. This is so decadent a cocktail. I think this was one of the first ones that I was able to successfully workshop for the Undertale series, and after this one I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a really, really good series. So, in our container, we have our egg yolk, we have 2 ounces or 59 milliliters of cognac brandy, and we have 3/4 of an ounce or 22 milliliters of the cinnamon syrup. We're gonna dry shake that first, which means I'm not adding any ice to it. I'm just quite literally gonna hold this as tight as I can and shake it as hard as I can, and then we'll add ice later. Trying to emulsify everything together. I don't know if the term emulsification applies to both the egg yolk and the egg whites. There's different chemistry that happens with either of those, and to be honest, as I mentioned previously, I am not a chemist. I'm actually an engineer. I do a lot of programming stuff. Now we'll separate those, and we'll add an egg, an ice egg, add some ice to one side of it. We'll grab some big old cubes back here. During the whole flooding fiasco, I was making a good number of drinks for us so that we could actually save the situation and keep our heads on straight. And I have a number of glasses in the freezer that I do not want to wind up messing up, so I have to be very careful with things. Add our ice, combine back together, and then we wet shake as normal. So long as it stays together. Little do you know, when I'm shaking, I'm looking at one of 3 locations. It's either at chat, to make sure I'm not missing anything, either at a sign on my wall that says "Got Seed," starring a squirrel with a couple of seeds from its mouth. Nothing unusual, or like trying my best to focus on the camera in like the weirdest ways possible. So now, we have all of our ingredients present and accounted for. Now we just need to build a cocktail. Let me bring the cocktail angle over, and I'll show y'all the presentation for this little number. The little number being Toriel. 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 Here you go, Toriel. If you're trying to garnish it, if you're trying to present a cocktail like this, you really got to do up your glass on nicely. Properly chilled, with a little monogram on it. This is Toriel's little Deltarune symbol that you see on her robes in the game. I'm very happy with this. I like the way that turned out. All right, now we'll take our flip part. Oh, let me get my whipper. That currently has the butterscotch foam in it, been hanging in the background, and then we'll build this whole thing upright. Oh yeah. Okie doke. Pop that open. Pop it. Pop it. Pop it, please. Pop it, playtime. Oh yeah. We will grab ourselves a strainer. We'll double strain this. It's not a. I don't want that. Get down there. We'll double strain this to our glass, and then we'll top it with some foam. When you're applying your foam, take it upside down and apply carefully. There we go. We can put that back in our fridge, and it'll be good for, like, at least a few more cocktails. I'm gonna serve that on ice cream later. Because after this debacle, I think we all deserve a little bit of it. She a pretty drink. She has a delicious drink, too. This is our Toriel. I'll show y'all, I'll adjust the cocktail angle ever so slightly so that y'all can see the thickness of this foam that has been produced with this egg white. At least I'll try to. There is a good bit of thickness on top of this. Let's see if I can showcase that a little bit better. Will Pierre is asking, how is everyone? Honestly, man, I feel a lot better now that my floors aren't quite literally leaking. This is Toriel. And that's what she do. Give Toriel a taste, shall we? I'm just gonna let my taste buds do the talking. Right off the nose, smells so prominently of butterscotch. I'm not getting any cinnamon notes. It just smells straight up like butterscotch schnapps. I'll take a little sip of the foam first. It's light. It's quite boozy, actually. It's almost got the texture of ice cream, but it's certainly not as cold. And there's a little bit of bitterness there that, in my opinion, I think is quite nice. I think the bitterness is actually not a bitterness at all. I think it's just the bite from the alcohol, because there was just butterscotch schnapps, water, and an egg white in there. But now I'll go for a full slip, taking everything all together. This is such a spirit-forward drink. If I had to make a criticism right off the bat, it is very boozy, but it is so creamy. It has such a nice texture to it, and it has such a sweetness just because of the amount of sweetener in there. The foam up on top is mostly flavored schnapps. There's a lot of sugar in there. And on the bottom, there's a sizable proportion of the drink that is abutted from a very rich cinnamon syrup. This is meant to be boozy, sweet, and textured. And when it's served all cold like this, there's some really fun, like, thermodynamic stuff that go on that gives it such a pleasant mouthfeel. Oh, it's so tasty. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so decadent, it's so rich. I feel like I am drinking still cold, but not quite fully melted, butterscotch cinnamon ice cream. It just has such a lovely, lovely texture to it. This honestly feels like I am at like a Baskin Robbins or something, and I have walked out on the rest of like my summer day, and it's melted ever so slightly, but I go in for like a lick. I guess it's in a cup. This wouldn't be in a cone, otherwise it'd just be a freaking mess. But that texture's still there. And the juxtaposition to everything else going on, I gotta admit, drinks taste a hell of a lot better when you feel like you've earned them. And with all the manual wringing of very dirty sewage towels, again, there might be, I can't promise that I won't keep bringing up images from this. It was only slightly traumatic. But that in my head, afterwards, feels like a reward. And I've been wanting to make this ever since it happened, but I couldn't yet, because I wanted to make sure that when I made the cocktail foam that I could show you guys actually what the process is, because that was really, really cool when it turned out for the first time. Now I will say, because there's a significant portion of egg white in this foam, the foam will begin to degrade after a little while. Even right now, you can kind of see that as I've been drinking this, that the structural integrity of this structure has kind of been forfeit. So there is some stuff going down in there. Latex saying, hello there, here's your drink. You came in at just the right time. But the structural integrity of that foam is kind of degrading. That's where utilizing a stabilizer like xanthan gum, which I think is a thickening agent, might come in handy. This is the bar with an X's, and personally my first time successfully making a boozy foam. So there's a bit of physics and a little finesse that we kind of have to work out here to make sure that this is a consistent and pleasant sipping experience throughout the duration of a particular guest's libational experience. But for the most part, this is sweet enough and cool and textureful. They could probably just take it all down at once, which I'm very, very tempted to do, but I really need to conserve this. There are 3 other cocktails this evening, and I'll just wait to fully indulge until the camera is off and we're off doing whatever happens next. So, Brad just so quickly pointed out, or switched over to the butterscotch foam recipe. If you want to make your own butterscotch foam, this is how you would do it. You quite simply take your spirit of choice, you add it to a bit of water, and add an egg white to it. There are other ways to foam, but this is just the way that we did it here. That's how you would do it. And you put inside of one of those, like, cool little whippers. In any case, let me move along to the next cocktail for this evening. Another character entirely. Let me get a little coaster. I got this White Claw hard seltzer coaster, which I feel like, I don't know if this is appropriate. This is very appropriate for Toriel. Maybe that would have been better for Undyne. Speaking of Undyne, here's Undyne. This is a recipe for Undyne. Undyne, not specifically the Undying. We haven't yet progressed to the genocide run of everything yet, but this is how you would do it otherwise. I'm gonna pull my recipe up down here so that I can actually see things a little bit closer over here. So, Undyne is a character that we meet a little bit after meeting the intrepid Sans and Papyrus. They will be getting drinks, but they won't be getting drinks yet during this part of our run. I'm getting a little more creative with those, so it's going to take me a little bit more time to finalize those recipes and showcase them to y'all. But Undyne is I guess like the head of the royal guard. I think she is the head. There are other royal guards that you see in the game, but she's like a fish lady. She's got like these awesome little like spikes on her head that kind of come off to the side. She's got that beautiful ponytail, and she wields a blue spear that she can chuck at enemies, including our protagonist, Frisk, and or whatever you decide to name your character. Undyne is characterized by being kind of, and I don't know if this is technically spoiler, but I'll give a spoiler alert, that she has a form that she can reach when her determination, which she forms inside of her own body, comes out, quite literally ripping her body apart and reforming it into the true hero, Undyne the Undying. Undyne's cocktail recipe is kind of inspired by her fighting flair. She's got a bit of a bite to her. She's a little abrasive, not even just a little abrasive, she's quite abrasive. And when you try to warm up the Undyne, she does the very, very best that she can, either from a point of view of trying to win a battle or genuinely trying to impress the main character by giving them, as a part of their experience, a cooking lesson, which she would normally do with Papyrus, or maybe the confusion is that Papyrus usually gets a training lesson, but she's doing cooking because that's how she does date stuff. It's a little interesting. There's another cocktail I'll be covering later on for Alphys, the royal scientist, that kind of is a pair with Undyne's drink. If you don't already know, they kind of got a thing for each other. And so I was trying to see if I can make two cocktails that use kind of similar concepts and kind of make them match to a pair to each other. So if everything goes according to plan, we'll have Undyne on one side and Alphys on another side, and Alphys is also a really weird one. So we'll wind up getting to that. Latex says, honestly, the butterscotch foam just looks delicious. But I meant the Toriel one. I assumed the butterscotch foam was the name of the cocktail, I can't read that word. The cocktail, rather than the foam on top, LOL. Yeah, that's just a specific recipe for that on top. There were so many words there, I just put it in another little recipe card. By the way, all of these recipes will be in the description of the YouTube VOD that exists after the fact. It should already be down there. And in addition, I'm still getting used to things and figuring out how to best put things up on various different locations. It will eventually be on the CameroxnWithAnX website, along with all the other lore and history and workshopping that went into creating these cocktails. So if a whole narrative is what you're looking for, that is where it will be eventually. I'm still kind of getting my act together and getting those out. I haven't even put the Dream Daddy stuff up there yet. But alas, let's move on. So our Undyne recipe uses rum agricole, which is very similar to rum, but instead of rum being produced from molasses, which is a byproduct of the sugar production process, rum agricole, as well as cachaça, is actually made from distilling sugarcane juice specifically. I was able to pick up this bottle of St. James rum agricole from New York the last time I went up there, because it's just not super available around here in the Philadelphia region where the bar with an X calls home. This is combined with some dry Curaçao, some blue Curaçao, some Kiwi Juice. This is why I got some kiwis over here to bring a sort of tropical flair to it. The reason we kind of have blue Curaçao here is because we're going for a particular color, and sometimes you just gotta cop things up to put the blue stuff in there, and the blue stuff doesn't make things blue. So that's the combination we have together. Let's make Undyne. Not quite the Undying, just Undyne. So the first thing we're going to do over here is we're going to prepare our ingredients. We have our rum Agricole. There's a bottle of Ancho Reyes, which is a chili liqueur that gives a slight smoky bite to whatever you add it to. It's also got a slight sweetness to it too, although it's quickly overpowered by the spicy bite of the pepper that lies beneath. We also need blue Curaçao, which is quite literally just your run-of-the-mill blue stuff in a bottle. It supposedly tastes like orange, although I don't think I've ever been able to properly convince myself in a single sitting that it is orange incarnate, albeit blue. And then we need a little bit of dry Curaçao on top of that. Blue Curaçao can be a little overpowering in terms of its syrupy flavor, so we're adding a bit of dry Curaçao, which is the non-blue side of the Curaçao orange family, to bring a little more flavor to complement the rum Agricole, as well as just give more oranginess that the blue Curaçao is really trying to fool us into experiencing. We also need Kiwi Juice. I would say that as any good cooking show would have it, that I would have prepared the Kiwi Juice ahead of time, but there was one thing that didn't survive the trip from Wednesday to Saturday because of this flooding situation, and that was the Kiwi Juice. It started separating and becoming very, very odd colors, so I apologize. I'm gonna make the Kiwi Juice right in front of you, and it'll take us just a little bit. But I assure you, the fresh juice can sometimes be worth the squeeze. So what I'll do is I'll drop one of my knives on the floor, and just quite simply take my kiwis, and I'm just gonna cut them in half. Half kiwis cut in two. You could technically use a juicer for this, and I did try to use a juicer for kiwi juice specifically, but the texture was like weird and all wrong and very, very pulpy, and after a while, the kiwi pulp would separate from the rest of the juice and made for a very, very odd cocktail. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to take the kiwi, and I'm going to put it inside of this glass after scooping it up out of my little thing here. Latex asks flooding situation. Yes, there was a flooding situation. So which is why I wasn't able to showcase these things on Wednesday. So I guess as we're preparing Kiwi Juice, I'll give everybody a rundown of exactly what happened. I did get a little bit of a rundown, but I'll go in a different detail direction this time. Basically, we had some flooding at the bottom floor of our little bar with an X here, unfortunately. And when it happened, we couldn't stream. We quite literally needed both the arms of myself and also my dearest my dearest wife. She's my wife now, not your fiance. To basically oh my god, we were putting our hands in sewage water. Is disgusting. It was very, very disgusting. And I'm having a really hard time getting the gunk out of these kiwis, so please excuse me if I get a little red in the face. I was hoping to have this prepared ahead of time, but lo and behold, yeah, we had water running in our basement, and although it would have probably been, I guess, better from a timekeeping perspective to keep the show running while I let my wife take care of things in the background, but I honestly did not have the heart to do that, so I just kind of canceled it. Because it just wasn't working. And I'm glad that we did, because in a matter of minutes, we went from water being completely absent from our basement to it being halfway across our bottom floor. It was terrible. And I will say too that I had probably one of the most aggravating situations with a property manager of my life over the past couple days. So this drink, I'd like to say it's for you guys. These ones are for me. These ones are for me this time. So essentially all I'm doing is just trying to separate the kiwi skin from the rest of the flesh. And I'm not doing a very good job of it, but I'm trying my damnedest here. Now I might have to go for this, actually, you know what? I just realized it doesn't matter because we're using cheesecloth. So actually, we can just throw everything into a glass. We can throw it all in the glass. I think we can do that, but I'll cut it up a little bit more securely first and kind of wipe my fingies down. I'll cut it up a little bit more. We're coming up with techniques on the fly. Cut up your kiwis. Whoops. Put them into a container that you can muddle things in. I'm gonna see if this works. I could also use a shaker too. That is also an option here. Just throw all your gunk in there. Now let's get a muddler and squish this all up and hopefully not make a mess. There we go. Whoop! Lost a little piece of it. Essentially, all I'm trying to do is get all the juice out of these kiwis, and then we're going to separate it from the pulp using some cheesecloth. And once we have our kiwi juice, we can proceed with actually creating the rest of this cocktail. Our beautiful, beautiful Undyne cocktail. If you came for, I guess, muddling ASMR, this is the place to go. Quite literally innovating live for everyone to see. That's the thing, like, one of the things that I really, really like about going through a vast different number of ingredients, a vast array of genres, and a vast array of different types of cocktails is I get to play around with a bunch of different ingredients when the motion strikes that, Undyne, I think, goes really well with kiwi. And then I get a kiwi, or 2, or 3, or like a dozen kiwis, and I play around with them to see what happens. And honestly, some of the best innovations, I think, happen under pressure. And lo and behold, I assure you, there is the slightest bit of pressure that occurs when you have a camera in front of you and a hungry and thirsty audience. I might actually use this muddler. I don't think I will. I'll put it in the bucket, and I might regret that decision later. Now I have everything in my glass over here. I'm going to change it. I'm going to put it into some cheesecloth. I'm going to take my rings off because this is getting very, very sticky. Kiwi Juice, no. Sewage cocktail. I like where your head's at. Innovation is happening here quite live, both on my side and on your side. Let's get some cheesecloth. And all I'm going to do is put my kiwi inside of my cheesecloth, and I'm going to put it over top of a container that has a funnel over top of it. Oh, my goodness. I got another flashback to the flooding situation and remembered these funnels, and it's not safe for work. I am not going to mention what I did to these funnels. I'm not going to mention what I did to these funnels. I am not going to share it. I'm not. I'm trying to make sure everybody keeps their lunches on the inside. You're just going to have to use your imagination. No sewage, please, says Nasal Queen. I agree. I agree. Please, no sewage. No sewage, please. Essentially, I'm just going to take my kiwi juice. I'm going to pour it all in my cheesecloth. It's going to go through, keeping all the pulp up here inside the bag, letting the other stuff flow down to the bottom. Things are going to get a little sticky. So let's go into sticky mode. You thoroughly cleaned them. Oh, I threw out the funnel that I dare not share what I did stuff to. That funnel is gone. I bought a set of 6, and the other 5 are here remaining, and they dare not speak what happened to their sibling. They dare not speak it. So when you have everything in your cheesecloth, honestly, there's quite a bit of juice that's coming out of here already because of the muddling process, but I'm just going to try to encourage as much of the juice to come out of here as possible. There we go. Like any good cooking show, we obviously have an entire gallon of store-bought kiwi juice that we kept freezing right off screen. Nah. Fresh juice. Nothing quite like it. Nothing quite like it. I found when I was juicing these the other day that I guess you could take inspiration from the cow milkers, and you kind of do a little motion where you like... No, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm squeezing fruit flesh in a canvas bag. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm squeezing fruit flesh in a canvas bag. And it's making funny, funny noises. Maybe I don't want to know what you... Maybe I don't want to know what you did. Maybe you don't, Latex. Maybe you don't. Alright. So we've got a good amount of juice from this kiwi. If you squeeze these... if you squeeze these cheesecloth bags too hard, you might actually force some of the pulp out of the bag. So you kind of got to squeeze this gently. And what you could do after the fact is you can actually like dehydrate this a little bit and try to make a fruit leather out of it, or... It's totally... I'm so glad I did not spill that. It's totally edible on its own. Kiwi is totally edible. So, here's a little snack for the bartender. It's very, very good. I'll take another container. I'm gonna take my kiwi scraps and put it in there. If anybody has ideas for what to do with kiwi scraps, let me know, because we might be able to do something with them. Well, I gotta open my container. Put it in here. I'm trying to be a more sustainable bartender. And oftentimes, it would not be the first time that a scrap from one cocktail has actually become a main ingredient to another one. And I'm sure there's a number of things that you can do with this kiwi stuff. I just can't quite think of what I would do with them off the top of my head. I'm gonna take a little bit of water. Kind of clean my hands off a little bit. There we go. No more sticky hands. No more sticky hands for Undyne. Although, I guess... Would she appreciate it? Like, Undyne's a fish? being. So I imagine she's like, well, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Never mind. Not even gonna bother to go there. You use them as a decoration for the cocktail. You could. You could use them as a decoration if they're not like super mangled enough, you know? All right, got Kiwi scraps. I'm gonna put those in our fridge over here. Now that we have all of our ingredients prepared, let's make a cocktail. You will be coming back, so I will not put you very far. Let's make Undyne. Now that we have all of our ingredients properly prepared, we are going to shake and strain this cocktail, so I'm gonna grab myself a shaker. Wasn't that cool? I've been getting better at this flair stuff. We're gonna grab some ice cubes from our freezer, put them inside one side of our shaking apparatus. Hello, tiny guys. Got a big guy. Whew! Into the big side. Sorry, Chad. And the little guys also going to the big side. We let that come up to temperature. We want our shaking apparatus to be at a proper temperature for everything, so we let the ice come up to temperature on one side. If there's any residual water, we will pour it out. And then we put all of our ingredients into the other side. Let's go for it! Ooh. I thoroughly cleaned them. Oh, bartender skills. Oh my goodness. I'm getting confused between the different chats and stuff. Skills! Let's go for it. We need a ½ an ounce of Rhum Agricole. Again, Rhum Agricole is made from sugarcane juice as opposed to molasses like rums are. Although the different rules that dictate rums and Rhum Agricoles and cachaças and stuff vary wildly. So there's that. We got ½ an ounce or 15 milliliters of Rhum Agricole. Next, we need 3/4 of an ounce of dry Curaçao. This is the orange components. The orange component, not the blue-orange component. That's the blue Curaçao. We'll take 3/4 of an ounce, 22 milliliters of dry Curaçao. Next, we gotta get the spicy components. We're gonna take 1/4 of an ounce of Ancho Reyes chili liqueur. It has a spicy, smoky sweetness to it. In that order. Spicy, smoky, sweetness. Spicy, smoky, sweetness incarnate. 1/4 of an ounce, or about 7 milliliters of Ancho Reyes chili liqueur. This is specifically a ancho chili liqueur, as opposed to, let's say, being a jalapeno chili liqueur. Totally not foreshadowing. Next, we're going to add 1/4 of an ounce of blue Curaçao. This is kind of here for color. It's also kind of here because it kind of tastes like orange. Blue oranges specifically, as somebody tried to fool me in my bartending school classes once upon a time. Never completed those classes. 1/4 of an ounce or 7 milliliters of blue Curaçao. Don't spill it everywhere. And then you add 3/4 of an ounce of Kiwi Juice. Freshly squeezed, freshly muddled if you've got it. It's got a nice opaque greenness to it. 3/4 of an ounce of fresh Kiwi Juice. There we go. And we got some extra. So I'll put that back in the fridge for later. Oh, and here's that. I didn't fully close my freezer. Come on, buddy. Come on, bud. Oh, I made a boo-boo. Boo-boo time. There we go. I didn't probably close things. I'm glad that I caught that before a later Cameron had to find it later. Latex says, so is it similar at all to regular rum, or did they just put rum in the title because why not? I believe, and I'm getting most of my information for the distinction between these spirits from a book called the Cocktail Codex. I believe rum is a French term that they use that kind of is similar to the term rum. I think the term rum is still totally correct. One uses sugarcane juice, and one uses a byproduct of the sugar-making process, which happens to be molasses. Although these lines tend to get crossed sometimes, the general rule is that if it's made from molasses, it is a rum, R-U-M. If it's made from sugarcane juice, it is a rum, R-H-U-M. But it could also be cachaça, and there's a number of other types of spirits out there that also fall under the molasses or sugarcane juice or some combination thereof category, and I can't even articulate what those names are because I honestly don't know what they are, but I'm sure that they exist somewhere because the world of rum is pretty much as diverse as the number of distinct shapes there are in an elementary school textbook. which seems like a very odd scenario because I just used a child analogy to talk about the differences in alcohol. So, you're welcome. So now, combine our liquid ingredients to our solid ingredients. I'm going to take any water that's collected from our ice coming up to temperature and pour it out. There really wasn't much of it. We'll combine it together. Let's get it going. All right, whereas now that I've got everything shaken, there's one other thing that we have to do before we wind up pouring this drink, and that's prepare the garnish. Let me bring my cutting board out again, and I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try it pretty good, so bear with me here. Let's bring the cocktail angle over. We're gonna try to see if we can carve out a little Kiwi Heart. One of the things that y'all may or may not remember from the game is that when you fight Undyne, you actually fight her in green soul mode, which is the mode for, I believe it's kindness. And so you can create a little, let me get this in the right place. There we go, right here. You can create, because we have a little green flesh inside of our kiwi, a little heart that we will stab with a, where's my little dude? Where are my swords? Got a bunch of different swords here. We're gonna find a blue one. Oh my goodness, little blue sword. Little blue sword. Where's the, there you are. Little blue sword. Please go away. Please, thank you so much for sealing. I appreciate you greatly. So let's try to carve a little thing here. I think the best way to do this, at least from when I was experimenting, is we want to have a little bit of that firm backing here, because we don't just want our flesh kind of falling apart after we stab it with the power of Undyne's ungodly ability to fight. So what we'll do is we'll take a little slice of the side of this kiwi. We don't really need that much of it. So now, all I'm gonna do is kind of go to the center. I'm gonna take one slit to one side, do one slit to the other side. We've kind of got the bottom of a heart. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna donate it to the bartender, because he loves that. And now, I'm gonna try as much as I can. I'm doing this upside down, so please excuse any errors I make. To go from the center, and we're gonna kind of carve out a heart. Okay. There we go. And now that I've kind of got my shape in there, I just gotta get it out of there. Almost got it. Come on, get out of there. Come on, get it. Come on, get. Come on, get. Get out of there. There we go. Got a little green heart. Just a wee little green heart. And more donations for the bartender. Now, this is in case Undyne wins. This is what it'll be like. There we go. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Brad. Lil Abe being a sneak with his bits. Oh, with the little snowman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There we go. But it wouldn't be complete, because we want to actually garnish our cocktail with this. So now we've stabbed our heart and created it. Let's take just a small little, I need my knife again. I need my knife again. Come over here, knife. I'm just gonna try to cut out a little wedge from this thing, reusing as much as I can. Go in here, cut one side off. I'll cut another side off. I've got this dude. Hello, that's where your angle's supposed to be. And I'm just gonna kind of cut to the side, and I'll put a little notch in it here, which is gonna go onto our actual cocktail. And now, combining everything together, put this on top, stab our little dude. Now we've got almost, gotta move that a little bit. We got a garnish. Kiwi pieces. Kiwi pieces. Put on a little scrap tray. Let's put it all together. I thought you were talking about human flesh rather than kiwi insides for a moment. Oh, dearie, dearest latex. Deary, dearest me. Maybe. Stick around and find out. Will we actually drink human cocktails? Humans in cocktails? I don't know. Alright, come over here. Get a good view. Get a good view. Garnish off to the side. We'll hold that garnish. Put you off, because we're going to need you even more later. Put our canife away. Canife away. Let's go for it. Let's grab our glass. Oh, how appropriate a song choice. There we go. Don't fall. Don't fall. Don't fall, please. Let's strain this. Here's Undyne. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful warrior. Honestly, she's looking a little green, but with a little bit of editing effects, it's gonna be just fine. So here we have Undyne, a drink that has a little bit of the spark of her determination. It's got a little bit of the color, a little bit of fins on the end, and a little green heart to showcase the kindness that we, at least in the True Pacifist run, showcased to her to allow her to kind of open up a little bit and eventually see us all the way to the end. We have not yet completed a True Pacifist run, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Almost. Slowly but surely. All right. Let's see how this tastes, right? Ooh. There is something about the way that Kiwi Juice, at least for me, unexpectedly combines with the flavor of orange from the dry Curaçao and the notes of, like, very dry stone fruits from the Rhum Agricole. It is a wild combination that I didn't even think was going to work originally. When I was workshopping this, I tried the Kiwi Juice with a number of different spirits, and the Rhum Agricole actually came up out on top. They were all rum or Rhum-based things, based off of sugarcane juice or molasses or what have you, because this was a little more of a kind of tropical drink style, but it tastes really good together. There is just the right amount of sweetness from the Kiwi Juice, and it could be a little more tart or sour depending on how ripe your kiwis are. These were a little more on the less ripe end, so instead of being a bit more tart, they were a bit more sweet, at least in my case. So you can adjust the recipe as usual, either dialing back a little bit on your Kiwi Juice and adding some more dry Curaçao, or dialing a little bit back on your dry Curaçao and pushing forward on your Kiwi Juice, depending on what kind of flavor profile you're going with. The flavor of the Kiwi Juice combines super well with the Rhum Agricole. There is a slight, just the slightest bite that I can taste from the inclusion of that Ancho Reyes. It gives it almost like a dry, bitter, savory characteristic, ever so slightly. I think the smoke is kind of just, there's no smoky component from the Ancho Reyes, there's only a little bit of it. And we also added just the slightest amount of blue Curaçao, not only to add a bit of blue color to the otherwise yellow or kind of brownish spirits that I went into this, but also to accent the orange flavors from the dry Curaçao in a way that sweetens things up a little bit. Overall, this is very sweet for a cocktail, but it's got those notes of tropical kiwi with a slight dryness, and it's cold to boot, that brings everything together, I think. Ugh, I really like the spiciness is on the roof of my mouth, kind of like in the mid-palate area. It's very pleasant. It doesn't leave a residual bad taste or anything like that. There's nothing like abruptly artificial about the aftertaste, and it's very pleasant. Kiwi Juice is an ingredient that never works the way I'd expect it to, says Brad. And I assure you, unless you quite literally mix this drink with different ratios 6 different times, you wouldn't have found one that even worked remotely as well. It was very difficult to get that Kiwi Juice to play correctly. But lo and behold, and especially because, actually, you'll appreciate this, Brad. I tried to mix it with the Conniption Purple Gin, which had a color that was totally spot on for Undyne. But when I did that the first time, the Kiwi Juice flavor was completely all wrong. And that was before I realized that you have to really strain out the Kiwi Juice to get the solids out of the way. Because what happened was, and I don't, if I have a picture of it, I will post it in the Discord later. It was purple on the bottom and a putrid green up on top. And I was like, oh. It was cool in its own special way. It was cool in its own special way. It was a lot of fun. This was a fun one to workshop. Plus, like, the idea of having the little, like, heart thing. I wish I could have done the heart a little bit better. It does catch quite nicely in the light, though. And I'm very happy with that. It's very nice. It's like a light tropical. And I'll say, I said it was sweet, but it's a lot more a dry sweetness. It's a dry fruitiness. It's a dry, spice-forward fruitiness that doesn't forget its tropical roots. And I like that. A piece of me thought that this should have a salty component to it because, again, Undyne is the fish lady. You find her in the waterfall, which I imagine has a salty, briny salinity to it. I couldn't figure it out, so this is where we are. This might actually, now that I think about it, be benefited from just a touch of saline solution. And I think I'm just going to try it, just for argument's sake, because sometimes that can kind of brighten flavors a little bit. I'll add a healthy single drop, and I'll kind of mix it a little bit with my kiwi. It's a little, you know, it's a little more kiwi forward. Just a teensy bit more kiwi forward. You could probably play around with that a little bit. You could. All right, let's clean things up. And we'll move on to cocktail number 3, which is adjacent to Undyne, in that it's Alphys, our fun little royal scientist salamander lizard girl. I love Alphys. What a beautiful character Alphys is. I dipped the kiwi inside of the drink, and now it is dripping. And I definitely need to get a coaster for that. Let's get another White Claw coaster for Undyne. That feels oddly appropriate. You can hang over here. There you go, Undyne. I wish I had a better way to, like, showcase all the different cocktails we've done so far, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. If anybody's got ideas, we have a suggestion box. I not only request, but encourage, please deluge me with ideas, because honestly, this show becomes a lot more catered to us as a community when I get to implement all the cool thoughts that you guys wind up giving. So I'm happy with that. Always interested in that. Next. The way you're describing the Undyne cocktail you just made makes me think it tastes like some sort of ginger drink like Kavita. I don't know what Kavita is, which is interesting, but it does kind of have a rooty spiciness to it. That's actually a really, really good comparison there, Latex. It does remind me of the spiciness of ginger, and ginger to me is less capsaicin, I'm burning your tongue kind of spicy, and more a roof of your mouth feeling that's a little more tactile in a way, but rooty when we're talking about ginger. That's a really good idea. I do have some ginger in my fridge that I was planning on using for one of the other cocktails later down the line that I'm currently experimenting with. So, but it didn't make it into this one. That's a good combo there. So let's put that down as kiwi. Let's think about that for a second. A kiwi ginger cocktail. Kiwi ginger. Kiwi ginger is that combination that I think I kind of want to explore at that point. That's a really good idea. There we go. That's a suggestion. Let me write that down. Kiwi ginger. Very cool. And who was that? That was Latex. Latex Whistledown. Whistledown? Is that like Lady Whistledown for Bridgerton? I like shamelessly love that show so much. I watched it with my dearest. It's so great. All right. Let's make some Undyne. So, not Undyne. Let's make some Alphys, right? Let me swipe my recipe over. We're making Alphys now. Alphys was actually a cocktail that I started workshopping first before Undyne. Undyne became a derivative of Alphys because of the flavor, like, explorations that I was doing with this very interesting spiky horned melon. So to catch you all up, Alphys is the royal scientist of the Kingdom of New Home, like the Kingdom of Monsters and stuff, as appointed by Asgore. She supersedes W.D. Gaster as the royal scientist, and I believe has close relationships with not only Undyne, because they kind of are like in love with each other, but also Sans as well. I was walking around my local giant Whole Foods store, and I saw this melon, and I was like, that straight up looks like it straight up looks like Alphys. And so I had my glasses, and I was like, it just looks like Dr. Alphys. I was like, it's so funny. I saw it, I was like, this has got to be a thing, right? Like there must be like horned Kiwano melons, like cocktails out there, and I couldn't find a lot of it. So I was like, oh my god, I don't know if anybody's actually made a cocktail with this before. They have, but I don't think they do it just right. So Kiwano melon juice is a very, very light flavor. It is like combining the flavors of watermelon and cucumber together. And because it is a melon, it is in that family of cucumbers and melons and otherwise. But it's a very, very light flavor. So in attempting to figure out what to combine with Alphys with this very light flavored Kiwano melon juice, I wound up creating a concoction of, this is not the right ingredients. This is this guy, some cucumber and jalapeno London dry gin, which is such a light enough flavor, or a powerful enough flavor of cucumber and a little bit of jalapeno to balance some of the cucumber and watermelon components of this Kiwano horned melon. And again, what didn't survive the last couple days, excuse me, was some Kiwano melon juice. So I'm gonna make some for you right here. Let's go with that. The Kiwano melon is really odd, so I'm gonna let you experience exactly what I experienced when I cracked this thing open for the first time. Let's bring the cocktail angle over here and see what we got going. Hello Alphys. Hello Alphys, you beautiful, beautiful scientist. This is for science. Let's take Alphys and cut her right down the middle. And on the inside, you might be surprised to know that it's kind of green. It's got like a putrid green color to it. And there are these seeds on the inside which are so like snotty. It's got such an odd texture to them. And if you were to taste it, which I will do so to make sure that everybody's aware, it is somewhere between a cucumber and a watermelon. I would not call this super duper sweet, but it does have a component that is very similar to both fruits. So my method for extracting the juice from the Kiwano melon is kind of similar to the kiwi, but the key difference here is we really want to try to separate these seeds from the snotty flesh that exists around them. So I've got a food processor that we'll use to take this Kiwano melon juice and guts and whatnot and try to separate it as much as we can from the seeds, and then use some cheesecloth to squeeze out the components. So let's do that. So honestly, what we'll do over here is I have my food processor right here, and I will scoop out into it all of the insides of these melons. The cocktail angle is in the way, so get the heck out of here. Let's grab ourselves a spoon. I want a big spoon for this. I want a big old spoon for this. I'm just quite literally gonna go inside and just like scoop out all the insides. Just kind of like get them in there. It's got a very interesting color. It's got a very interesting sound too. The skin on the inside does come apart rather easily. You can kind of just like scrape it all down and it works out pretty well. Although to be fair, I'm still struggling with it nonetheless. If you go in like a circular motion around the side, it works pretty good. If you've ever like carved pumpkins around the Halloween season, it's very, very similar to that. Like shockingly similar. And it does have a very similar smell to it too. Essentially, I'm scooping all this out and completely scraping down the insides of this fruit. Whoop. Come here, buddy. Come on. I do not like doing this with bar spoons. It does not work out very well. I've learned that now. There we go. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. There we go. There we go. Get off of there. Get off of there, Alphys. Get off of there, Alphys. Get him. Get him, Alphys. Get him, Alphys. What is this? Oh my god, an actual spoon. Thank you, love. Oh. It appears that my pleas have been answered by my dearest downstairs. Oh my goodness. Latex says, have you tried making a cocktail with starfruit? According to Google, it has a slightly sweet-sour flavor, somewhat like a mix between a ripe pear and a green grape and orange. Not in the YT chat, but we did have a starfruit drink in the Paper Mario series. It's true. Actually, when I played Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, I did an entire cocktail series, and a lot of the crystal stars do have components of starfruit inside of them. In particular, if you make a starfruit simple syrup, it has a wonderful candy-like texture to it that I can only describe as almost a cross between, like, if you took away all the sourness of an orange and added back a little bit of, dare I say, a touch of banana juice, not banana itself. It is a lovely, lovely flavor to it. It's very light on the citrus, though. So I got one of these melons. I gotta do the other one, because if we're gonna wind up taking this juice, we're gonna take all of it. We're trying not to waste things. These melons go for $5 a piece. A piece. Oh, and I should use this spoon that I got from my dearest that actually works out a little bit better. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yes. Oh, and it hurts. Don't squeeze on the melon too hard or you will hurt yourself. This is spiky. And this side, even more spiky than the other one. Oh my goodness gracious. But yeah, actually, Latex, if you're interested in recipes that utilize starfruit, at least in one way, you can check out the Crystal Star series that we did for Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. I think the best one there is the one that Brad linked. That's the Powerlift cocktail. I honestly think if you look up Powerlift cocktail, I think my website shows up. And if it does, then apparently that means that CameroxnWithAnX has learned how to SEO properly. Just search engine optimization. Click on it. Share it with your friends. All it does is, honestly, all it does is help us. And the more people, honestly, this is the state where I'm getting at so far. For the sake of full transparency, one of the reasons I really, really want to grow the channel is because I have a very small subsection of the video game universe that I have context on. And if I can unlock the perspective of all the other people who have played every other game that exists in the world out there, the Bar with an X can get inspiration for drinks and other libations that pull from not just my own mind and the people I surround myself with, but everybody. Because these drinks are not just for the people who are here, but for anybody who has access to the ingredients or the determination to go out and find them or make something of your own. And that's the kind of spirit that we want to try to encourage around here. I love it. It does in fact show up for me in Google. Yes! Validation is cool. Anyways, we have hollowed out Kumano melons. Don't put them on your head. This is the core. This is the core the core of Alphys. These will come back later. These will come back later. You know what you can do? The bottom of this melon is now hollow. There are no leaks in it. If you wanted to, you could, hypothetically speaking, drink something out of this. Maybe. Anyway, let's put this off to the side. Put this down here. Hello, Cam. Polar Bear here. Hi, Polar. Welcome in. Welcome in. I'm so sorry for the delay. I was supposed to see you all on Wednesday, but my apartment was flooding. And by my apartment, I mean the abode that not only doubles as my home workstation, but the play workstation, the bar with an X, and also the basement, which is where I sleep. All right. So now that we've got a bunch of Kumano melon guts inside of a pulverizer, I'm going to carefully take off the lock on my microphone and turn you all the way down so as to not destroy anybody's eardrums with the loud sounds that are about to happen. Don't worry, we haven't gone anywhere. Just realize y'all can't click that. Oh well, whoops. Click that? Clink that? What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Alright, let's pulverize this thing. Oh, it's not plugged in. Hold up a second. Hold on. There we go. Get him. Oh, she leaking. Oh my god. Oh, wow. What the heck? Why are you getting gunk everywhere? It did not do that the first time. Maybe I'll put it on low. Stop that. Alright, well, that's okay. We've gotten the gist of it. After you completely pulverize it, what you can do... He's making a cocktail, right? That's the one. That's the one. Now we'll put it into the other cheesecloth. And we are going to put you away. I'm done with you this time. I don't think I need you anymore. We've got our cheesecloth. Let's grab ourselves another piece. That we can fly. Make funnel that we can fly. There we go. Take off the rings, because it's about to get even more sticky around here. Ugh. Oh no, the basement of the food processor is flooding! I appreciate that. Honestly, I cope with things via comedy, and so making light of a bad situation, honestly, kind of makes it better for me, so I appreciate that. So actually, the flooding has stopped. There is no more flooding, so the bottom of the basement is currently dry as can be, although it's really funny because whenever we try to do our laundry, sudsy water falls all over the floor, and that's apparently what our property manager is telling us to do, because I'm so confused. Also, because I know, you know what, no, we're not going to shit talk people behind their backs. They did all they can to bring the situation to light, but somebody was a bit passive-aggressive and petty with their email responses to somebody who's quite literally cleaning up shit from the place that they don't own. You'd think that we'd be on the guy's side doing the work for you. No. No. Oh my god! Oh, Bobby, that is gooey. Oh my god. I think this is a live of playing Undertale, but okay, I guess I just don't like just games. But okay, I guess because I don't like just games. This is a live playing of Undertale. I'm not playing Undertale tonight. No playing Undertale tonight. So what we do here at the bar with an X is we'll play our games and then showcase everything into a particular showcase of what we've seen so far. This is a cocktail showcase. We'll be back to playing Undertale on Monday. So take your horned melon juice, put it into your cheesecloth, and if you refuse what? You can just put it in your mouth instead, I guess. It kind of does taste like a cucumber, but like a sweeter cucumber. Classic landlord behavior. Educate yourself on your rights, y'all. Educate yourself on your rights. So now, I'm just gonna kind of squeeze as much juice as I can out of these guys, because this is syrupy, it is juicy, it is currently not giving any of its juice. There is barely any juice in this container so far. We kind of have to encourage it, and specifically with the food processor not there. So let's get our juice out. Let's get our juice on. Squeeze it. There we go. Latex said, you had mentioned not knowing how to display cocktails. Whenever I imagine cocktails being showcased, I just imagine a cocktail on a table with fog and dry ice smoke around just coming right out of it. Oh, well, in terms of, I guess what I was specifically referring to there, Latex, was how to display the cocktails during the live stream. One of the things that's kind of interesting about being a online live mixologist or bartender, we call ourselves Twitch tenders. Me and a couple of the other folks too, including Colino and Larix and Jay Swizzle. We're all Twitch tenders of the Twitch. But it's about showcasing what we're creating while we're here in front of you. Now, what I try to do is I really want to showcase these cocktails in a light that really give character to them, that really accentuate the different things that I'm trying to showcase as the creator here. So what I'll also do is photo shoots for these cocktails after the fact, and all of that winds up showing up on our blog with an X, our X blog on the website. And the only reason I keep bringing it up is because y'all basically keep asking about it. But you'll find really nice pictures there. Everything that I'm sharing with you now about how the cocktail came to be and how we workshopped it, plus a little bit extra, is all up there. I don't like putting things into this world without some record of how it got there. And you know how before I said you shouldn't squeeze these things too hard or pieces of the pulp come out? The pulp in this case is literally just seeds. Squeeze the sucker as hard as you want to. My squeezing power is a little less intense because I was squeezing... Redacted. I'm not sharing it again. I don't want to... We're trying to keep all of our stomach stuff inside of our stomach. Could have them on a shelf in the background. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. My lighting situation is very shitty. I'm not a lighting guy. Alright. So now, I have a container of Kiwano melon juice. I'm going to take the Kiwano melon seeds and put them in another container. Because... from the last Kiwano melon that I used for workshopping, these are the seeds of the Kiwano melon that have been dried up. In case you don't know, there's another cocktail ingredient out there called orgeat. It is spelled O-R-G-E-A-T, and that's made from anything from almonds to pumpkin seeds to pistachios, and I think that Kiwano melon seeds can make their own orgeat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these guts, and I'm going to put them into our dehydrator downstairs or an oven on its lowest settings until they've completely dried out, and then crush up that mixture and then put it into another container and figure out what the hell to do with it later. I haven't figured out what to do with it now. Let's kind of, I'm going to take my, oh my god, it's disgusting! Oh, it's so gooey! Oh, it's so gooey! I love it. It's so good. This is why I love this show. Y'all can experience the goo with... Actually, it's kind of facing me, so... Redacted. Where's that spoon from earlier? Gimme. Gimme. Get in there. There we go. There we go. Try to get all the seeds in there. The disadvantage of using a cheesecloth like this is there's a bunch of gunk that gets stuck, and you wind up losing some of the stuff that you have, both into the cheesecloth itself and otherwise, so... There are better ways. And if y'all know what that better way is, educate us. Wet, dry. I'm gonna go down here later. If I figure out what to do with it, I will let you know. I promise. Brad says, I am very intrigued in this seed-based orgeat. Indeed. Latex is saying, you could have plushies or pictures of toys of their real characters next to them. Actually, the newest addition, in case you didn't notice, is the characters' faces inside the recipes. I'm very happy with that. Alright, I'm gonna wash my hands again, because I feel disgusting. Not as disgusting as I felt the last couple days. Redacted. But, anyways. Also, I just realized I don't usually have my arms out like this. I feel so sexy today. I'm so exposed. Oh my god. Oh my lord. Anyways. What are we doing next? Oh, right. We're making cocktails. I forgot. Alphys requires this thing. This is a home-infused cucumber jalapeno London dry gin. We created this by... Actually, there were two batches. One was mistakenly way too jalapeno forward. Do not take a jalapeno and leave it in your drink for more than a half hour unless you want the whole freaking thing to burn your entire mouth. Don't do it unless that's what you're looking for. Instead, take about 600 milliliters of a London dry gin and chop up an entire cucumber and place it on the inside. Let that sit overnight for about 24 hours inside of a refrigerator and then remove the cucumber from it. If you're a maniac, you'll consume the entire alcoholic cucumber at once. But if you're not a maniac, or maybe you are and you're proceeding to the next step, you'll take half a jalapeno and leave it in that mixture for 5 minutes. That's it. And then take it out. And then you'll have this, a London dry gin that has been infused with the lovely, like, refreshingness and coolingness of cucumber with a mild, not minimal, mild bite of jalapeno. That's pretty tasty. Pretty tasty. It's tasty on its own, too. I just broke one of my cordial glasses the other day, so in celebration, I'll take a little drink of this cucumber jalapeno. Specifically not jalapeno cucumber. That's the other batch, which is hanging in the closet. Smells like cucumber. Woo! Very cucumber forward. With the slightest mild bite of jalapeno. Man, jalapeno is very, very appreciable. We need our cucumber jalapeno gin. We also need our horned or Kiwano melon juice. That's the name of the melon. We call it horned because look at the horn on it. Being facetious. Then we need some lemon juice, which we can get freshly squeezed, and some simple syrup. And we combine that all into a shaker because we have lemon juice and citrus in there, and combine it all together. Let's go for it. Grab a shaker. Shaker, shaker. Catch it. It's so cool. I love being a bartender. I love booze-soaked cucumbers. Oh, and Disney Queen was saying something. My favorites where he did that were the first set of the Paper Mario ones he posted on the Reddit. He did some digital editing and make it look like they were in the game. We do some fun stuff. We do some fun stuff. If you like fun stuff... You heard it from her. Don't leave. Don't leave. I'm gonna grab some simple syrup. I'm gonna grab a lemon that I unfroze. It is effectively fresh, although albeit very, very, very squishy. And what else do we need? I don't know why I thought I needed more. I thought, oh, I need ice! I need ice. That's what I was going for. I need solid water. I like to take 2 little tiny cubes and put them into the big side of the glass. Swap. And also add a single big cube, too. and then put these back in the freezer. Try to close the freezer properly. Because that makes sense. Now we'll add all of our ingredients. And put your rings back on because you're a defined gentleman. And roll up your sleeves because you're also a defined gentleman. Excuse me. Latex says alternative name for the orange spiky Alfie melon. The undermelon. I like that. I like that. Somebody tweet that. Somebody tweet that shit. I will repost. If you tag me on Twitter and say undermelon, I will retweet that. Promise I will. Does anybody use Twitter anymore? X? Anybody use X anymore? Because if not, I've got some rebranding to do, I guess. All right, let's take a full ounce of our cucumber jalapeno infused London Dry Gin. Put that into a cocktail shake. Back down here. Experimentation later on. Next, we're going to add 3/4 of an ounce of horned undermelon juice. 3/4 of an ounce of that. If you've adequately strained everything out and cheeseclothed it, it's not going to be weird, gooey, and oddly viscous. So 3/4 of an ounce or 22 milliliters of horned melon juice. Hello there. Hello there, lemon. Next, we need 1/2 ounce of freshly squeezed lemon juice. These ones I don't think are completely thawed, so might have to do multiple of them. These ones are not completely thawed, apparently. Oh no! I can't get all the juice out of my lemons! What a shame! Nuke it in the microwave? You could nuke it in the microwave, I guess, is an option. Or I could, like, warm it between my powerful thighs. Yeah. Not getting out of that. That's okay. Well, I got as much melon out of there as I possibly could. Melon. Lemon. Lemon. Lemon is an anagram for melon. If you can't make it the full way, that's okay. Not everybody has that kind of stamina. Fill up the rest with some suppositories. 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. You'll have to rebrand to Camero TikTok with a TikTok. That's a lot of letters. They say never pick a name that's hard to pronounce or hard to spell. I stuck an X in my name, so deal with it. Next, we need 1/2 ounce of a rich simple syrup. That is a simple syrup that traditionally, what we do here is mix things in a ratio of 2:1 sugar to water by volume because it keeps things a little more shelf stable. Plus, you have to use less for the same amount of sweetness because we got a bunch in there. 1/2 ounce, 15 milliliters of a simple syrup. Go away. Go away, lemons. Over here. Let me do a little cleanup over here. Put some things away that we don't exactly need. More. Be back for more. Next time on an exciting episode of The Bar with an X. Where the X go? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. That is a very full bucket, let me tell you. Taylor is having a good old time. Now we'll combine together, and we'll double strain into a proper cocktail holding apparatus. All right. Because there could potentially, depending on how you treated your Kiwano melon juice, you might want to double strain this. I got as much out of it as possible, so I'm only going to single strain. But I don't actually think the double strain is necessary in this case. All right, bring the cocktail angle over. We'll see what our creation doth say to us. Here's a Kiwano melon. Which side's better? This side or the other one? Oh, this side. Oh, definitely this side. Hello, Alphys. Alphys. We might need to specifically. We'll have another container in the background. We'll have an emergency container just in case this one can't keep its form. And then we will strain that out. There we go. This is Alphys. Why is there a half melon? Because this is Alphys. Actually, it'd be really Alphys if... One second. One second. Stay upright. Please stay upright. Please stay upright. Stay upright, please. Please stay upright. Nope, it ain't happening. Alright, it ain't happening. Come over here, Alfie. Do some fun. Hold up a second. Right there. Right there. Yeah. Ah! Dr. Alphys, of the Royal Scientist of the Underguard. This is Dr. Alphys. That it is. God, what a beautiful Alphys she is. I just love, but I just had this image of this particular Kiwano melon, like, in the store at Giant, and I was like, I gotta put glasses on that, and I did, and I was like, yep, I don't care what it takes. This is gonna become the base of my cocktail. Now, is this the best? Is this the best container to be serving this in? If you were going to do this, you might want to not cut straight down the middle. This one might actually contain more of the cocktail. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, it does. It totally does. All right. I'm not alone anymore. Latex says, just in case there's another flooding incident or camera decides to content redacted again. Ugh, here we go. Get the picture, it didn't happen. So, Alphys. Smells lovely. Has a very, very potent air of cucumber. Woo, 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 woo. Oh my goodness. That's a tasty one. This is basically a cucumber forward daiquiri. Despite the fact that there is no rum in this, the base of this is instead gin. It's got a nice sourness to it. It has a very noticeable dry texture to it, which when I was doing my workshopping is coming from that horned melon. There is a slight nuttiness to this that I didn't experience when I was workshopping this originally, and I think it's because the horned melon juice in this case was extracted via a food processor as opposed to a blender. I don't really know how much extra seed essence is inside of this juice versus the juice that I was using via workshopping, but that sort of almost quasi-almondy component, and a very dry almond, not a very amaretto type almond, not a very sweet almond, a very light almondness to it. It's kind of woody in a way. It's very nice. It's very sweet. And there's just the slightest. It's a lot less mild than it was on the Undyne cocktail. A spiciness that is akin to the jalapeno pepper, as opposed to the ancho chili pepper. Brad was saying, I kind of want to see this drink made into a jello shooter served in the melon hat. Ooh, or like a sorbet or frozen drink. That's a fair point. There are so many things. Actually, some of my favorite memories of a particular restaurant around the area where my childhood is at, they served the sorbets, the lemon orange sorbets, out of the actual fruit itself, and they capped it off with the piece that they would cut off. I never really was a fan of sorbets, never a fan of lemons in particular, but my younger brother and Anna were really, really into these sorbets, so much so that it's a very particular point in my childhood that I'm very thankful for. It'll be a part of my childhood. When I put children on this earth one day, Godspeed to the rest of the world when that happens. I'll drink to that. And also should probably be hydrating. I'm not drinking water very much. Alright. So this is our Alphys. It is a nicely balanced, like, sour... I was going to say sweet. It's got a sweetness to it. But that sweetness is not coming from anything from the simple syrup that we put in there. It just kind of bolsters things up a little bit to try to let those subtle flavors of cucumber and Kiwano melon kind of dance around a little bit. It's very, very pleasant. That's actually, like... Honestly, if I had to make a sort of criticism on this particular drink, it's that when I tasted the horn melon juice the first time, I was like, this is a very, very light flavor, and I really wanted to see how to best preserve that flavor in the final drink. And honestly, I had a really, really hard time with that. So if you're a mixologist or bartender out there who knows a bit more about the nuance of how to take very, very lightly flavored juices or very lightly flavored spirits and showcase them at the forefront of your cocktail, I'd need some more advice on that. I tried what I could with this one and played around a little bit with the concept a bit more in my free time, but that's something that I think as we continue to up our mixology skills here at the Bar with an X, that we'll be able to translate a little bit more into better cocktails in the future, as this is all a learning experience ultimately. I see Jaden popping in saying, hey Cam, I say hello there indeed. Not sure why that didn't pop up in the chat over here. It looks like it appears like my chat thing here has not properly refreshed itself, which is the second time that Streamlabs has done that to me. Let's refresh that. All right. I don't know why your message didn't show up, Jaden. I apologize for that. And all the other stuff that Disney Queen and Brad were talking about, too, didn't show up. I have to blame the provider because my chat... I don't yet have a means for my chatbot to output directly to the overlay that you see here. And even if it did, it would completely miss all the YouTube stuff. So we are... unfortunately at the mercy of the third-party apps that we utilize to enhance the streaming experience for everybody involved. Anyway, I'm going to try to see if I can put... actually, I'll put Alphys right in this little glass over here to hang next to Undyne. There we go. Oh, and you know, while you're hanging over here... Put your glasses back on. Does that work? Is that working? Is that working? Well... You go, Alphys. You hang back here, Alphys. There we go. Oh, I just realized. I didn't put my microphone back down. I apologize, y'all. I completely forgot to turn my microphone back up. So if you couldn't hear me that whole time... Oops. Sorry. Alright. This particular... And what I'll make one final remark about Alphys, and that is this Kiwano melon gourd... because it's basically kind of like a pumpkin, can be utilized for a variety of different things. I was thinking whether or not this particular rind here was going to make it in potentially this Kiwano melon seed orgeat that I wind up making. I did try to see if you can make it into a garnish. And for all intents and purposes, I don't think you ever actually battle Alphys in the game, but if you could, you may not know that monsters kind of dissolve when they die. And if you want to add a little bit of a genocide flair to this, this is what happens when you take the Kiwano melon flesh and put it into a dehydrator for much longer than it's supposed to be there. And it just... A little preview into the genocide run. I thought that was kind of fun. This is very, very chewy. It's not chewy, it's crunchy. Ugh. And it also really hurts your hands. If you thought it was weird to hold that spiky melon the first time, when you dry it, it just gets harder, and now I have bruises on my fingers. It's just how it is. Alright, cool. So I'll take this food scrap and put it back over here. There are no more fruits for the rest of the duration of the stream. There is one more cocktail left that I will show you all. So far, we have covered drinks for Toriel, which is a cocktail that utilizes a full egg. We have... Excuse me, wow. We have a flip on the bottom, utilizing an egg yolk, and an egg white cream up on top. I was mentioning that the foam that we made earlier can actually be used for more cocktails than just the one that you're making if you preserve things properly. Now, case that in point by bringing out the whipped cream whipper and saying that if you really wanted it, you could add more. Whoop. Gotta shake it up a little bit and add some more on top. There's a lot in there, but, you know, if you want to, this is my show. Be careful. Oh, it tastes so good. Very, very good. Please only do that for trained professionals. Latex says, no offense, but I feel like the Alphys cocktail is a bit plain. Could use some more decoration. Honestly, you're absolutely right about that. I appreciate your criticisms and welcome them wholeheartedly. Alphys, aside being served in the melon itself, you could add some like little, I was thinking about doing like a little like kind of either paper craft glasses or something to do with the glasses. You're right, it is a little bit plain, but I'll take that for that one. So now we'll move on to the final cocktail of the evening, which is one inspired by not really a character in the game, but kind of a concept that we see more or less throughout the entirety of not only Undertale, but also the other works of Toby Fox, including Deltarune, which I haven't gotten to yet. I have been doing my research. I'd really like to do a playthrough of Deltarune at some point. But that concept is determination. The concept of determination is something that apparently can like well up both either inside of monsters or inside of humans. The determination experiments, which we'll get a little more context on Monday when we proceed through the latter half of our True Pacifist playthrough, we get recollected in the True Lab. These are experiments done by Alphys, specifically with her DT extraction machine, taking out determination from a variety of sources and injecting them into monsters to create these creatures called the amalgamates. Determination can come up from within a human soul, as you see throughout the game at the various different save points in the game. As you go to the different ones, they say like it fills you with determination, or determination wells within you. You feel very determined as you're about to make this next cocktail. It's something that even Undyne in the genocide route can actually form within her own body, causing herself to completely melt apart and reform into Undyne the Undying as you try to defeat her as you proceed through your genocide route. It's a very, very interesting concept, and one of the first conceptual cocktails that I've had the pleasure of creating here on this show here. Determination isn't like a thing. It's kind of a concept in the world of Undertale, and to actually put that into a drink was something that I kind of had a lot of fun playing around with. So this is what I have to show for y'all, and I'll just show you what it is. I'll just move on to it. Jaden says, Laser already did Deltarune. Who's Laser? The one who lasers. I hardly know her! Hey, got him. So the Deltarune, whoa. The determination cocktail is kind of technique based, sort of, depending on how you want to do it. This is technically Prosecco, orange liqueur, and some pomegranate juice and some lime essence, if you will. But the real key is when you prepare your glass properly. So I'll show the cocktail lung over here, which is currently looking at the thing. I have inside of my glass here. Let me take a look. Oh, come on. Oh, don't spill Undyne. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Here, buddy. Here, buddy. Here, buddy. Here, buddy. I kind of have to... This is off here. I don't know if you can see it very well. I learned more after doing it this time. But inside of our glass is a little heart. It is made by freezing pomegranate juice. And if you really want to test the boundaries of this, this is not coming off. Upside down, what we've done is taken a frozen watermelon... a frozen pomegranate ice heart and froze it to the bottom of the glass. This is going to stay here until things wind up melting. So what we're going to do is actually build our cocktail in the glass, our determination cocktail. So let's go for it. Laser Colorblind is a YouTuber like me. Like me? I'm a YouTuber? But does they mix cocktails? I bet they don't. Let's grab our ingredients from our media jar here. We're going to need some Prosecco, aka some sparkling wine, specifically. We're going to add some orange liqueur, which we're going to use Cointreau for. And we're going to use some lime vodka to put everything together. And we're building this cocktail right in the glass here. So let's go for that. Before this thing, so long as we do this quick enough, this little ice structure is going to stay at the bottom of the glass and not float all the way up to the top, which kills the illusion. So let's go for it. We need a ½ ounce of orange liqueur. We're gonna actually take the Prosecco, and I think it's still kind of debated whether you put the Prosecco on top of these types of cocktails or otherwise. I think it's just depending on what you're going for. I'm gonna put the Prosecco on top and then do all the ingredients down below. Actually, no, I'm gonna put this on the bottom. Now we'll do it on the bottom. No, we're gonna do it on top. Oh my God, I'm gonna do it on top. That's what I'm gonna do. Let's add ½ ounce or 15 milliliters of Cointreau to our glass. ½ ounce or 15 milliliters of Cointreau. Put it over the top. Next, we're going to add a ½ ounce of a lime vodka. I've got Absolute here. I just didn't want to use lime juice because I didn't want to cloud up the cocktail too much. ½ ounce or 7 milliliters of lime vodka. Next, we're going to basically top that all the way off with our Prosecco, which is going to be the equivalent of about 4 ounces, but measure with your heart. Measure with determination. That's what we're going for here.
Measure with your brain.
Measure with your brain, says Anna.
Right, that works?
That works too. I like to cover the heart completely. This is a bit of a spritz. And at the bottom of the glass, if positioned ever so slightly with the optics of the situation, you have a heart that goes on the bottom. Oh, I love airplane bottles. They're tiny guys. This is the only ones that I could purchase at the place down the street. Oddly enough. Not exactly sure why. But that is just how it is. Jaden says, no, he's not a bartender. That's okay. That's okay. Not everybody can be drunk all the time on camera like me. No, just kidding. I'm being facetious. So this is our determination cocktail. The thing to note here is obviously the pomegranate ice heart is going to leach into the cocktail. So over time, this color is going to get a deeper red. It's going to become sweeter or more tart depending on your pomegranate juice. I think I just used the Palm Wonderful stuff, which is a very nice combo with the lime, the Prosecco, and also that tinge of the orange liqueur in there. Let's go for it. Oh, and there we go. My heart has floated to the top. Let's go for it. Pop a cocktail bangle back over here. Nice and bubbly smelling. Very obviously forward on those notes of Prosecco. That's kind of got like a creamy, almost metallic taste to it, which combines with the lime flavor from the vodka in a way that's kind of appreciable. I taste tested this cocktail both the way that it is right now with basically just Prosecco, Cointreau, and lime juice over top, and it is a different cocktail now than it will be probably in like a few minutes from now, probably in like a half hour from now, or an hour from now if you let it go for that long, as this pomegranate ice cube melts into the cocktail. So depending on how fast you like your drink, you can either consume this all at once to get all those Prosecco notes, all those notes of the slight vanilla from the Cointreau, the play with the lime from the vodka, and then after the fact, you taste basically just pomegranate juice, or you just kind of let it sit for a little bit and stir it up ever so slightly to combine some more of that pomegranate juice in with the rest of it, which is what I'm personally a fan of when I'm sipping on some liquid determination. Very nice. This is kind of it's a kind of in the category of cocktails called like a spritz. You usually top that off with either some seltzer, some Prosecco, some champagne, something sparkly there. This, I will admit, is not as full a cocktail unless it has the pomegranate juice inside of it. So my recommendation is, if you were going for the presentation route, true pacifist. Let's go with true pacifist, right? Do this exactly. Follow these steps exactly. Take an ice cube mold and take some pomegranate juice and put it inside of that mold and let it freeze. Then what you're gonna do is take your glass and put a little bit of water in the bottom of it and put that in your refrigerator for a little bit of time. Make sure that your, pomegranate juice hearts are frozen completely first. After your glass has come down to temperature in your freezer and your water has gotten cold, it has not solidified yet, what you're going to try to do is take that pomegranate ice heart and put it into the cold water down below. You want the water to be as cold as it possibly can be before freezing, because you don't want the bottom part of your heart to melt. I actually did this 4 different times and only one of them came out really, really, really well, and I want to apologize up front. I'm saving the really good one for the photo shoot. So if you're interested in that stuff, everything will eventually go onto the website, because that's where all the professional stuff goes, as well as more history and whatnot. And all those blogs are written by a sober Cameron, and not one who's at least 3 drinks in so far, who can sometimes stumble with his words. So, depending on what kind of Cameron you're subscribed for, there's many ways to play. Find me on OnlyFans for a completely different time. No, just kidding. Don't do that. I do not have an OnlyFans. Not to your knowledge. I would never lie to my fans. I don't have an OnlyFans. Wait a minute. I would never lie to my OnlyFans. But would I lie to everyone else? Excuse me. Anyways. So that's what we have so far. Although everything here is, everything's kind of fallen apart. These drinks are meant to be sipped and drinking. So otherwise, not just going to sat on display here. That's all I have for y'all, actually. Those were all the cocktails that I wanted to show you all this beautiful evening as we continue through our Undertale playthrough. I'll do a little bit of a roundup, and I'll do some cleaning up. I will say that this last, just this is the last time I'm going to talk about this. This last week has been very, very stressful, both from a physical point of view and kind of from an emotional point of view. So I wanted to make sure that I put these out there because I put a lot. I really, really like the work that I get to put into these cocktails for y'all. And I really wanted to showcase them. And I really wanted to continue with Undertale too, because this game is so cool. And it's such a wonderful playing experience that, like, even I was vibing with somebody today as we were finishing up a completely different conversation, and he was recollecting the Genocide experience, which I've never actually had a chance to play yet. And he's like, oh, it's heart-wrenching. Have you done it yet? I was like, no, I don't really know what I'm in for. I've never actually done a Genocide route before, and that's basically what's coming, not quite next, but after that. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's gonna be a time. Anyways, let's get to the end of it. We're ending all of our cocktail stuff here. I'm going to put things back in the order in which that they appeared and go back through all the way from the top and do a little rundown of what we've been through. Because that's how we do our showcases around here. For those of you who might be new to the channel, because we have had quite a few new visitors recently, which is really cool to see, because that just means more ideas, more games and cocktails in the future. I certainly don't know all the different games that exist out there. Let me actually do the cocktail angle for this, which will showcase more than just the front of the bar, right? Surely. Come on, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on, bud. Oh, almost. That's not really working super well. All right, whatever. I'll go back to the other angle. That's not working as well as I wanted it to. All right, that's fine. So, starting back at the very beginning of our journey so far, I have a recipe for y'all called Toriel, which is recipe number 1, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is. So the first cocktail that we covered this evening was a cocktail called Toriel. In the world of Undertale, you find Toriel and she gives you a butterscotch cinnamon pie. She's also a fan of snail pie on her own, so this particular iteration of the cocktail showcases and emblazons the Deltarune symbol that she wears on her own royal robes, and it is a 2-part cocktail that uses both parts of the egg, the snail, in this case, because she really likes snail pie. The bottom layer is a flip cocktail, which accents the cinnamon part of the butterscotch cinnamon pie experience. It is made with some cognac, made with some cinnamon syrup, as well as an egg white. It is made with an egg yolk, hence that yellow color that you see on the bottom. On the top is a butterscotch foam, which uses some butterscotch schnapps, some water, and an egg white that when combined in a whipper, which I showcased earlier, will come out of it as a thick foam that sits on top and can degrade after a little while. And the interesting thing about this is, after a while, it does have a sort of smell of kind of a wet dog to it. And I think that there are other foam techniques out there that I have yet to experience, yet to play around with, that if I find any more improvements along the lines, I will obviously bring it back to the show here so that we can all collectively learn together. Despite the fact that it may smell a little wet dog-like, it does not taste like a wet dog. It has a wonderful texture to it. It has a rich, almost like beautiful, beautiful flavor of some butterscotch, as well as a bit of cinnamon. There's not a lot of butterscotch on this right now, as the schnapps has kind of floated on the surface a little bit, but together, when you have the combination of that foam with the flip cocktail down beneath, it is a wonderful experience that is probably more similar to like a cream pie, more so than like, let's say, like a butterscotch cinnamon pie, but I don't really know what type of pie it is to be. It certainly looks more like an apple pie, more so than like, let's say, like a coconut cream pie, but alas, this is our Toriel cocktail. Latex says, as a lover of butterscotch, I approve of this cocktail. And as a lover of cinnamon, I too also approve of this cocktail. So the next one that we have, I'll skip over the recipe. For those of you who are interested in the recipe of the butterscotch foam, it's over there, actually, not on the other side. Everything is also in the description of the videos and stuff. If you're on the Twitch side and you're watching the VOD of this after the fact and can't use the sips command anymore, if you go to YouTube, all of the stuff is over there. Or you can just, like, screenshot things, because that'll work too. Next, we'll go to the cocktail that we created for Undyne, which is the one that you see right here. The cocktail itself is adorned with a couple of our ear frills, as well as a garnish that is more or less a green kindness soul mode heart that's stabbed with a blue sword, reminiscent of the blue spears that Undyne uses throughout the game. She has a very she's got an abrasive personality. So this cocktail combines the Kiwi Juice, which is the more like the... Let me back up for a second. Again, I get a little tipsy when I'm doing these shows, so this is the unedited outtakes. The Undyne cocktail utilizes kiwi juice as its main flavoring component, and there's a sort of tropical soiree going on around it, combining some rum agricole with some Ancho Reyes chili liqueur, which gives this cocktail a bit of a dry, almost savory bite to it. Depending on the mileage that you get out of your kiwi juice, this combination can either be a little more on the tangy side of things or a little more on the sweet side of things, depending on the ripeness of your kiwi juices. In our case, the kiwi juice came in a little bit sweeter, so if yours comes in a little bit more sour, you can dial up on that sourness if that's kind of your thing. You could dial back and play around with those dry Curaçao ratios depending on what you're doing, but if you want to do it like we did, then that's the ratio that you'll want to use for your Undyne cocktail. Next, we played around with and was able to create a cocktail for Alphys. Alphys is the royal scientist in the underground, and she honestly looks like a Kiwano melon. She quite literally looks like this little like horn melon thing over here, which, you know, if you oh my goodness. Whoops. I spilled something. Is served inside of a melon. But inside of the melon is the cocktail that's down beneath. Kiwano melon juice has a sort of flavor to it that I find akin to between a cucumber and a watermelon. And that combined with a cucumber and mildly jalapeno-infused London Dry Gin with a bit of sweetness, a little bit of sourness, brings a sort of, let's say, sour-type cocktail to the forefront with a flavor that is, honestly, kind of forward on the cucumber, a little dry, and almost sticky in a way. Like if the mouthfeel were a little sticky, like a dry kind of sticky, not like a sandpaper kind of dry, sticky kind of dry. And that's because of, for the most part, that Kiwano melon juice that we got from quite literally food processing the Kiwano melon guts on the inside. The seeds, if you're curious of what we do with that, I'm going to try to make that into an orgeat later. I honestly don't know what to do with that cocktail, and I don't think it's going to make an appearance here for our Undertale cocktails. But if anybody ever has suggestions for a cocktail to make or an ingredient to look into, by all means, the suggestion box is always open. I don't know what I'll do with that orgeat, but for the most part, the juice can be combined with things like cucumber or things like watermelon to accent those notes a little more further. And I think the little bit of jalapeno that I have in the gin does accent it in a different way, which is actually quite appreciable. And that's our Alphys cocktail. And then finally, our final cocktail of the evening is Determination. Although it really doesn't have the same spark as it did before, this originally was a frozen pomegranate juice heart sitting and stuck to the bottom of this cocktail glass, which you use you can create via the snow globe cocktail method, where you basically take some water, put it at the bottom of the glass, and freeze it with something inside of it, so that when you take it out of the freezer, the water at the bottom is solid, and it holds whatever you froze inside of it. In this case, it was a heart. The heart is gone. It is completely melted by this point. It's mostly kind of a forward orangey, lime, citrus spritz until the pomegranate heart starts to melt on the inside of it, creating a very, very dark red cocktail that now tastes like a very spritzy pomegranate juice. Those notes of lime are a bit subsided, but that sort of like creaminess from the Prosecco, and I'll admit, a little bit of metallicness too, does go quite well at that Cointreau that I included in there, which is an orange liqueur, which has been described also as being sort of vanilla-like in its flavor. When it all combines together, it becomes red. The pomegranate juice becomes completely combined with everything else, basically leaving you with a different cocktail experience at the end when you let everything melt than you had at the beginning. That's what we have here. That's all I've got. I am only a slightly bit tipsy. We ate dinner very, very early. And my goodness, I am tired from this entire journey these past couple days. Woo! That was a fun one. These are so good. What's your favorite? Anybody got a favorite out there? Mine's Toriel. I really like the way that Toriel turned out. That's also arguably the booziest cocktail here on the shelf. So it's possible that I set myself up for failure in the very, very, very beginning of this. It's really good. I'm definitely going to be sipping on that a little bit later. But that's all I've got for y'all this evening. In our cocktail showcase number 1 for Undertale cocktails. What I plan on doing is on Monday, 2 days from now, because today's actually a Saturday. It's the weekend for once, which is wild. It never happens around here. You never see us streaming on a weekend. Unless we're in Disney World, I guess. Or somehow making up for something that we didn't have previously. We'll be back on Monday, continuing our Undertale playthrough until we're finished with a True Pacifist route and then going into a Genocide route. I just realized I'm not on the ending screen. We're done. We're done, y'all. We're done with everything. I'm all done with things over here. So it's been a lot of lots of fun. Lots of fun. We'll be back on Monday, same time as usual. And then at some point in the future, I'm currently working on other cocktail recipes inspired by Undertale. I don't know why my train of thought just went like totally blank there for a moment. Oh my goodness, I might actually be a little drunk. Look at that. That's fun. Well, as all really fun drunk people do when they're in front of a camera, I'm going to smile awkwardly and say, do the things. Do the... We'll be playing Undertale. It'll be great. More cocktails coming to you eventually. Look out for announcements on Twitter, Instagram, Discord. I put announcements in places. And if you like drinks, me too. Have a wonderful rest of the night, y'all. I think I have to go lay down. This is wild. This has been a wild past couple of days. I don't usually lose my composure like this. Thanks all for watching. If the moon is shining where you are, have a wonderful rest of your morning. The sun's shining where you are. Insert morning here. Good night, y'all. I'm gonna go sleep. Bye.